Federal government delegation to visit Ghana over Nigerian traders' conflict with Ghanaian counterparts. COVID-19. Healthcare pharmaceuticals get 84 billion naira from the Central Bank of Nigeria. House of Representatives warns all companies not to underrate host communities. Plus on the program today, we shall be x-raying how agribusiness can pull many out of poverty. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we're reaching you live from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Leah Cotton Babatunde. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, says the bank has disbursed 83.9 billion naira to pharmaceutical companies and healthcare practitioners nationwide to cushion the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Governor of the CBN, Godwin Emefiele, said the disbursement is to build a robust healthcare infrastructure. Some nations had imposed restrictions on the export of vital medical drugs as well as use of drugs patent that could aid in containing the spread of the pandemic. He said the bank disbursed over 83.9 billion naira in loans to pharmaceutical companies and healthcare practitioners it is supporting, while noting that 26 pharmaceuticals and 56 medical projects across the country have been supported. He added that the Apex Bank was able to mobilize key stakeholders in the Nigerian economy through the COVID Alliance, which led to the provision of over 25 billion naira in relief materials to affected households and the setup of 39 isolation centers across the country. The federal government has directed that a ministerial delegation be sent to Ghana to resolve the prolonged conflict between Nigerian traders and Ghanaian authorities. The Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Nia Adebayo, stated this in a statement signed by his special advisor on media, Ifedayo Shayo. Adebayo, who said he would be leading the delegation, added that members of the delegation will also engage in further dialogue with Ghanaian authorities with a view to finding a lasting solution to the problem. He added that the delegation is expected to embark on the visit between May 31 and June 1. The Executive Secretary Petroleum Equalization Fund Management Board is soliciting media support as critical stakeholders to help create understanding of its equalization responsibility to Nigerians. Lydia Sampson reports that Ahmed Boboy urged the media to further educate the people of their stake in the equalization fund, which is critical to the sustainability of equal pricing of petroleum products across the country.
To know the fate of BF itself first, and then we look at the mandate, the new mandate or additional mandate for all these things that we are looking for. And we have the legal backing, legislative backing, then obviously we'll come out with a clear framework. I will tell you exactly.
The House of Representatives Committee on Host Communities has taken exceptions to what it describes as levity on the part of oil companies to issues of host communities in the Niger Delta, warning that such will not be condoned in the interest of peace. Dayo Gunshola reports that this was at an interactive session with stakeholders and the general public.
Companies that have appeared before us this morning, we haven't seen any MD of any of the companies. they are not reciprocating the kind of goodwill that we have extended, to the industry players as it affects the issues that border on the host communities. It will be too early to run conclusions, but it appears that the same level of levity with which the host communities are treated is the same kind of extension you are bringing here, and we will take exception to that.
The Central Bank of Nigeria is providing a platform that will allow youth who are interested in farming access credit at low interest rate. The Apex Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele says the bank will also facilitate a linkage between farmers and agro-processing companies that will offtake all their produce.
That our objective is to make agriculture a sexy business for everybody. And when you say you have a sexy business, the youth have to embrace sexy ideas. We see this opportunity to encourage the youth to come and join. We have various programs that you can benefit from at the Central Bank of Nigeria. Don't sit and wait. You can make money in agriculture.
Now, agriculture creating jobs and sustaining economic development as government strives to broaden sources of income into its treasury. For experts, taking agriculture away from subsistence into agribusiness will pull many out of poverty. What are the trends and prospects? Osei Udiebo is an agripreneur, and together we shall be exploring that path. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here.
Great. So when we say agribusiness, what does it mean?
It's almost similar to the petroleum business. There are different value add and change in agriculture. So agriculture on its own, it's an encompassing unit, starting from the producers to what we see on the shelf. So when you talk of agribusiness, you are looking at the several different aspects of agriculture that starts from putting the seed in the ground to putting the food on the plate. So there are a lot of value chains which I believe if any government is serious can key into and create millions of jobs for millions of the citizens.
Okay, we just heard the central bank governor just a while back, and we also have most of these interventions also through the ministries of agri and other sister ministries. How would you evaluate these interventions, especially this period of the pandemic?
That's a very key question there, because the key word is evaluate. We've had several programs, starting from the Goodluck Jonathan era, the TAP, which I was a beneficiary of, and also to this current regime. But now, when we say evaluate, we have to look back at where we're coming from, the success story so far, and what was the objective of the program. Now, before I believe CBN is a bank, is a lender to banks, not private people. So I always advocate that we shouldn't overlap. There are specific banks that have been set up for agricultural lending and financing. What is the purpose of those banks? If the CBN should kind of like usurp the authorities. We're talking about the Bank of Agric. We're talking about the Bank of Industry. Now we also have NESRA. Now, of recent, NESRA there were loans that were being given out to farmers and entrepreneurs from NESRA. What is the success story of that project? We shouldn't just put the cart before the horse. All the monies that have been expended by NESRA, have they been accounted for? Have they been successfully plugged back into society for the purpose which they were giving out? Have people started paying back the loans? Because it's almost like doling out money, and that's why people always have that impression, say government has no business doing business.
Yeah, if I might interject here, I believe that NISAL is owned by the Central Bank of Nigeria, so the CBN doesn't interface directly with the beneficiaries. You just have to pass through NISAL. Yes, and of course there's also some form of moratorium, especially with the coming in of the pandemic. So there's been a 1-year moratorium and further extension because of the recession we got in. Yes. So by and large, how will you say small businesses, especially those in the agri, have fared?
Um, like all businesses were hit hard during the COVID-19 pandemic, which we're still battling with. But not to say there are some businesses that have thrived under the pandemic. Take, for example, the food business or agriculture business. But there are a lot of challenges intrinsic in that sector.
Of course. Yeah.
We look at production, and not just production. When the farmers produce, I think 30% of what is produced is being lost to waste. So we have to look at storage. We have to look at processing, so that all agricultural produce can have longer shelf lives and they will be able to give the farmer more value for their money. Now, this pandemic wasn't planned for, so I believe in situations like this, we should be creative and we should learn to think outside the box, because it's not these are not usual times. So for the farmers, it has been challenging, given the insecurity situation currently bedeviling in the country, all regions of the country. This is not a northern thing, it's not an eastern thing, neither is it a southern thing. It's bedeviling all regions of the country. Mostly hit at the farmers, because farming is almost like it's like a project. There's a time to plant, there's a time to weed and water, there's a time to apply your fertilizers, and there's a time to harvest. Now, when you miss out on one of those times, like there's some areas in the north where farmers have to pay levies to bandits before they can go and harvest or go and apply fertilizers to their
As
crops.
alleged.
That's allegedly, yeah. So before they go and apply fertilizers to their crops. So all these little challenges, then also the fear of going out to your farm and maybe losing a life or being sacked from communities. In Nigeria, we're not just facing an agricultural problem, we're facing a very, very serious food insecurity problem. Because this year that just ended now, most people were scared to go and farm.
We've also had unstable rain patterns.
Yes. But now that brings us to, how will I put it, the commercialization of agriculture. We can't keep on waiting for the weather to determine when we're going to eat. Irrigation has been a system that has been ongoing globally for years and centuries. So for us to wait for the weather, when the rain falls, when does the sun come out, there's greenhouse farming, there's the irrigation methods that we can adopt, and these are very costly projects to bring back.
Do you think we should be paying more attention to those?
Yes, I think so, because these are not projects that subsistence farmers can embark on. The cost of irrigation, it's not something that a farmer wants to bear the burden on, because no matter what the situation in Nigeria is almost like no matter what you add, no matter the input you add, no matter the value you add, at that level, we call that the downstream sector of agriculture. At that level of agriculture, the difference in pricing isn't commensurate with what you've added. So by the time you finish adding your fertilizers, your irrigation chains, and cost for transportation to the markets and everything, the food prices don't really change as much. It's just of recent we're seeing an upsurge in the prices of food items, and we are the final end users too. We are farmers, we are also end users. So when you go to the market and you see a bunch of plantain going for 3,000 naira as opposed to something that was going to 1,000 naira before, we complain. And the purchasing power is no longer there. So these are all the things that there are several moving parts. It's not just only on the farm, onus on the farmer or on the loans entirely. There's a lacuna in communication. Now there are so many of these. There are many cooperatives. There are many microfinance banks that do soft loans in single digits to farmers. But is the information out there? What are the guidelines to ensuring that? Now, the bankers, gone are those days where you just sit, you look for accounts and you start paying interest and you give percentages and all that. They should be stakeholders in the agricultural sectors. It's high time we start seeing banks partner with farmers, own a stake, send out those days we used to have, what do they call them, agric resource people. They study it in the university, they go out there, give new information. Those people should be
just like we have in the School of Agric in Zaria back then.
Those people should be hired by banks, because the greatest fear, there is so much risk involved in agriculture that the bankers don't understand.
Now, talking about this risk, because it is agreed that our bankers need to sort of revolutionize and move with the trends. But we are facing a situation where jobs are actually very scarce. It's obvious and it's common knowledge. Now, many startups are said not to survive beyond the first year. If they try, 3 years, and then they crash.
True.
So if you're going to be speaking to someone who just wants to start a business, what will be those fundamentals to look out for?
Okay. First of all, do an extensive research. Don't just jump into a business because someone else is doing it. Know your market. Know your target clients. Like I said, I always tell people it's like the sky. It's big enough for all birds to fly. So don't be in competition before you get into business. So number one, do an extensive research. What value are you going to be adding in the industry you intend to venture into? Then number two, use your capital. Spend your capital for the materials you need, the items you need. We are moving away from brick and mortar businesses. I believe most people just nowadays, they want to appear rich, appear like businessmen. They don't want to be rich. You have 5 million for a business and you rent a shop for 2.5 million. You put a CCTV camera for about 500,000. You put up computers and ACs and everything, then you're left with very little capital for the business. Now, the youth are always on social media all day, criticizing government, marketing their products, talking about stories and all that. That's one of the biggest platforms for marketing. That's an office on its own. So we should focus more on the baseline. What adds to your baseline? Your rents might not necessarily add to your baseline for your business.
Sure.
So we should focus on those. Spend money on the items. Do extensive research. Spend money on the items you want to trade in. Go on social media and use that as your office. Many youths are doing it, especially the catering world. People that are into the beauticians, they are using that also, that platform also, You have to take advantage of the 21st, the millennials, let me put it like that. You have to take advantage of the tools they've used to enhance their businesses. Now, renting a shop now is even clothes. You can sell clothes on your WhatsApp status. You don't have to rent shops anymore. So I see a trend where people are, most importantly, during the onset of this COVID-19 pandemic, where we have to reduce physical contact as much as possible. So fewer people will be walking into shops. Most people will be on their phone shopping. So how have you positioned your business to be one of those that will be visible on social media? What are you adding? What are the values you are adding to your business in terms of customer care? Because transiting from brick and mortar to online business, it entails trust, because there's so much fraud on e-commerce. I've been a victim myself. You pay for an item, they don't deliver it, the number switches
what
off.
I paid for versus what I got.
Versus what I got, So there has to be kind of like a trust. And now the only way you can do that is when small businesses aggregate. This is not the time to do one-man business. You said something. You were like, why do startup businesses not go past the first year, maximum 3 years, and they're out? That's the symptom of I want to do it all alone. I want 100% of my profit. Now, like I said earlier on, you're not in competition with anybody. You're only in competition with yourself. They'll be better than what you were a moment before. So I always advise entrepreneurs that instead of going into a business alone, pool resources together, share the profits. A percentage of $1 million is better than 100% of 10,000 naira.
Thank you. I think I'll just rest it there.
Thank you.
That's a very fantastic list. Thank you, for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Now, still with the business community, as businesses continue to recover from the effects of COVID-19, one business that has managed to survive the onslaught is gardening. Miriam tells us how on Surviving COVID-19 series with Benny Adams.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Before I came to Abuja, I was into textiles. So on getting here, I looked at the environment. Most times I had a lot of challenges with the textiles I was selling. So at a point, I needed a change of business.
Then it started in a dream, a walk in the garden 14 years ago.
I saw myself planting flowers. Somebody was telling me the names of the plants and so on. So when I woke up from that dream, I said, how do I go about this?
It is said, when there is a will, there is a way.
She said, Madam, if you want to do this business, don't go and look for millions of naira. Just go to your backyard, get flowers. Start nursing them from your backyard. From there, start looking for market on how you can sell them. And that was how I started.
While businesses experienced downturn as a result of the pandemic, hers was different.
Yes. People were coming for our herbs because we have medicinal plants. We have plants we grow here. We have the strawberry. We have other plants, edible, spices, fresh spices we sell. So people must eat.
She says some of the rare species are from seeds imported, which is capital intensive. And with her everyday expansion of customer base through referrals, coupled with presence on various social media platforms, she says more capital is required to sustain supply.
Especially these medicinal plants, we send them to every part of the country. So if we have access to loan, we'll be able to buy more of these seeds. We'll be able to buy more containers because you need to plant them in their containers. So we'll be able to buy more of these things and expand. There are times, like the person that supplies me this container has been calling that I should come and buy you, it will go high and things like that. But I said, not now, let's wait. But if we're able to access this loan they are talking about, we'll be able to buy some of those things, expand the place, and get more plants.
As her garden puts food on the family table, Mrs. Omo is determined to initiate many into the business by creating jobs on her garden and annually engaging school pupils in the practice of gardening.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Thank you, Benny. There. Now, how much is the Naira exchanging for the currencies across the globe? Take a trip to the commodities market. Asia-Pacific markets were under pressure on Tuesday following a sell-off in tech stocks that weighed down major U.S. indexes overnight. Boss Stable reports.
Nigeria and Kenya have been taking the lead on the equities market in Africa this week, while Ghana is still lagging behind. Numbers are yet to come in this morning, but investors are expecting an improvement in Tuesday's trade as they closely watch markets across the globe. In early European trades, the pan-region Euro Stock 50 futures were down 1.35% and London's FTSE futures dropped 0.08%. Those of German's DAX are also indicating a fall. In Asia, a regional equity gauge suffered its biggest slide in nearly 2 months as investors brace for U.S. inflation data. Japan Nikkei slid 3.08%. Selling was heavy in Hong Kong, where the Hang Seng Index fell 1.74% and dragged the broader market down nearly 2%. In the US, stocks saw Nasdaq Composite slide in early Tuesday morning after investors punished big tech stocks during the regular session and pushed both the Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 off record levels. Bossade Able, Business Express.
And this is where we end this edition of Business Express. Remember to keep in touch with us, so do send in your comments, observations, and suggestions. Also be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is NTA News Now. Business Express returns Wednesday at 3 p.m. I am Leah Katung Babatunde saying, stay safe out there.